Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spooky AF. My name is Suz, and I'll be your paranormal buddy host today, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob. Rob, tell the people how you're doing.
I'm good. I'm, happy to be recording. It feels like it's been ages since we last recorded, even though it absolutely is not the case. But yeah, I'm excited to get into whatever it is that we're talking about today. You've given me some, hints at it, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
Okay, so I'll get into it in a second, but I do have to let you know that I have, my partner and I have done something we said we were never going to do. We have both bought, and it is only for wearing, in the house, but we both now own a pair of Crocs.
No, Sis, no.
But it's just to, replace our house shoes.
No. Shame.
I knew, I was like, I'm gonna have to disclose this.
Have you unironically said that you're putting them in sports mode yet?
Yes! Yes! 100%. It was the
Jesus
first thing
Christ,
I said.
Sis.
I was like, I'm gonna put these fuckers in sport mode. I would never wear them out and about because they're just really not my vibe, but I will say they are dead comfortable.
Are you wearing them with socks?
Yes!
You fucking...
Yes, because I'm inside my home. My feet are cold.
All right, okay. Are they at least a fun color?
Yeah, they're a fun pink color.
I knew they were going to be pink with you. I just didn't want to assume.
Because I live my goth Barbie dreams.
You do. You really kind of thread that line.
If Persephone can be goddess of spring and queen of hell, so can I.
Yeah. You know what? You rock it, but just not with Crocs.
I know. Oh, I've been calling them Crocapoos
as well. Oh my god.
So I thought I'd start out this episode with that.
We represent a large demographic of listeners now, because now that you've embraced the Croc.
Let us know your Croc colors. Do you rock them out and about? Are they house shoes? Tell us about your Croc usage stats.
Do you rock out with your Croc
exactly. Well, you are living your best Birkenstock life, and you look like someone who would own Birkenstocks.
That is true.
And
so much so that my wife's aunt actually was like, "Wait, you don't own a pair of Birkenstocks?"
Yeah, it was like, what?
Well, I actually haven't worn them in ages now that I think about it. I've reverted back to my flip-flops. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't wear shoes really at all.
No, you don't.
I'm a flip-flop stan, and have been for a long time.
When we worked together, there were days when I remember once you turned to me and you were like, "God, this day fucking sucks," and I'm not in flip-flops.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're in the office.
Yeah, it's still something that I battle with anytime I'm in the office, especially on those horrifically hot days. I'm sitting there wearing a pair of either dress shoes or boots. Yeah, it's no good, no bueno. Well, I'm glad that you have made your feet more aerodynamic.
It's true. I like them in sport mode. Actually, I prefer them in sport mode. So I'm often around the shop wearing them in sport mode now.
Sorry, around the shop.
No, I mean, the shop is at my home, not is it the. I don't wear. I am a solid. Either I'm in neon trainers or I'm in platform goth boots, and you know this.
That's true. Well, I'm waiting for the update in a few weeks, inevitably, where you tell us that you graced Tesco with your Crocs.
Oh, I can't. I feel like the Tesco employees at my local Tesco already know too much about me, so I can't be doing that.
Well, to be fair, where you live, Crocs would fit in pretty well, actually. So.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into a little bit about what I've been doing because it connects to what I'm gonna talk about today. So when I set out to think of what I was gonna do for the episode, I was gonna okay, maybe this time I'll do a proper deep dive on a single case, how I've done a couple of times. And then I got really into YouTube videos of compilations of TikTok conspiracy theories.
Holy shit, okay. So I love how you... Sorry, I love how you were watching TikTok compilations on YouTube.
Yes, because I'm in my mid-30s.
True. That's true.
I've never downloaded TikTok. I will not watch them if they are sent to me because it always makes me want to download the app, and I won't do it. So unless it's sent to me as an Instagram reel or as a YouTube clip, I never see it.
That's fair. I don't have TikTok either, so I'm not one to judge. I love how it was on YouTube.
Oh, sorry. Okay. In a previous episode, I need to address this. Like, Corrections Corner, or not Corrections Corner, more like Realization Corner. So I remembered, there was a previous episode where I had learned a new, like, internet term, and I couldn't remember what it was. And it was, it is chuggy.
What?
That was the one I had learned. Education time. So from what I understand by context, because I was like, all right, put that in millennial for me. Chuggy is essentially like, oh, that's quite cringe. Like, it's kind of the new, like, oh, you're being kind of cringe, but it's often assigned to sort of millennial core behavior.
What's wrong with the word cringe?
I don't know. Well, it's like how they changed swag to drip, and I'm like, drip that's just an STI.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But, I mean...
Thank you for speaking the truth.
But youths go off. Yeah, oh yeah. I'm like, I refuse to use that in its proper, like, current use, because I'm like... Because you hear people being like, oh yeah, he's got mad drip, and I'm like, ugh, gonorrhea?
Yeah,
Yikes.
no, it's not a good term.
No. So anyway, so chuggy, add it to your lexicon, if you'd like. I did, my first question was, is this related to Big Chungus? But it's not. It's so I don't. Yeah. I need context clues. Anyway, so that's my Suz's old update for the audience. So anyway, TikTok conspiracy theories. They're fucking insane, as you can imagine. Like, I saw several videos on the fact people. I would like to say it's ironic, but I'm really not sure. They are like, Lil Wayne is a goat.
Sorry, as in like literal goat, or like the goat as in goated?
Oh no, not the goat, as in like a farmyard goat.
I mean, I kind of see it, I guess, but like I'm not on board with this.
There's also a big one that, like, I think his name's Jungkook. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. He's part of a K-pop band that I am largely unaware of, as most things in pop culture for me. But that he is the reincarnated Princess Diana of Wales.
No, fuck off. No.
So that's a thing.
The only TikTok conspiracy that I know is that dude who was convincing everyone during the COVID pandemic that he was a time traveler.
Oh my god, that is a huge trend right now on TikTok, or at least it was whatever the compilation video I watched was. It's loads of people being like I am a time traveler, this is going to happen, like all this other shit. And then what's hilarious is one who got really popular, whose everything she said was proved wrong. She still has a TikTok account, but now she just does dances, and it's kind of funny.
Of course she does. Like, she's just pivoted.
It's like you have to pivot. Yeah. So I was thinking about, like, the concept of conspiracy theories, and they do, like, fascinate me. I mean, because I come from a place where many people believe that, like, JFK was killed by the government.
Or that, elections were stolen. But
oh God, I know. Anyway, but so I've been around a lot of conspiracy theories growing up and all that, and largely they're ridiculous because it requires a level of secrecy and planning amongst humans that are largely incompetent and would never be able to do so. However, it led me to start thinking about, like, groupthink, and then that led me to think of mass hysteria.
Yes. Which we've briefly touched on in the past.
Exactly. So I'm going to get a little bit into that, a little bit of a recap. So basically what I've done is I've put together a bit of a tasting menu of mass hysteria throughout history.
Love it. Amazing.
And so hopefully, like, we'll touch on some things that you've probably definitely heard of, and then hopefully we'll hit some that you haven't. So I'm not doing, like, a proper deep dive into any of these. I just wanted to kind of cover the breadth and diversity of the wild things around mass hysteria and how it's viewed in, like, the medical and psychological communities as well.
Cool. Looking forward to this.
So yeah, mass hysteria. I have always been fascinated by it. As you can hear if you go back and listen to my excitement when you announced you were doing the Dancing Plague a few episodes back.
Yeah, you got mad excited.
Yeah, I was like, this is amazing. However, like, I've never really done any looking into the theories surrounding the phenomenon of what we colloquially call mass hysteria, and I definitely had never really done any looking into cases of mass hysteria beyond the obvious ones. And the obvious ones would kind of be like the Dancing Plague, or something like the Salem Witch Trials, or the War of the Worlds broadcast. So to start out, let's go over some of my sources. So again, some very well-resourced Wikipedia articles, a number of National Institute of Health articles, which outline mass hysteria as a phenomenon in medical and sociological discourses, history.com, because you have to, a European psychiatry article, the British Journal of Psychiatry, an article on Science Direct, and the International Journal of Mental Health Systems.
Jesus Christ.
So,
like every single time we
know.
list out sources, I just have like a moment where I sit here and listen and just think about the total lack of sources that I always consistently have for all of my cases.
But that's what balances us
Yeah,
out. You're like, trust me, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely the yin to my yang.
Exactly. This is why we work. Like, you know, you're the believer, I'm the skeptic. This all balances
True.
out.
That's more than fair.
Okay, so I figure I'd go through some of the terms and the medical, psychological, and sociological discourses surrounding mass hysteria. And then I'll give you my little taster menu. So again, this is kind of opening up doors. Like I might do like a deeper dive into any like particular case in a later episode, but again, this is just hitting the high notes. So let's start with what we're talking about when we say mass hysteria. So mass hysteria is the popular term for what is variously termed as mass psychogenic illness, or MPI, mass sociogenic illness, mass psychogenic disorder, or epidemic hysteria. So side note, I'm not a fan of the term hysteria because if I remember my postgraduate work, which I don't largely, but it has its roots in the Greek word for womb, which I believe is like hyster or something, so therefore it has historical associations as something applied to women and, you know, their wandering wombs and all of the, you know, like women being emotional and nonsensical. But at any rate, so that's just my side note on why I'm not a fan of the word hysteria, but we're going to keep going because everybody knows what it means.
Fair. That's fair. We have talked at length in the past about women being hysterical, and unfortunately how it's basically the sole bit of evidence for cases where they're like, obviously it's a demon. Look, it's a hysterical woman.
Oh my God, a being with a vagina is speaking. Like, where is that a womb by her left ear? Like...
No.
Yeah, it is.
No, you couldn't possibly understand the demons that are possessing you because you are a hysterical woman, and obviously I, as a man, understand these things, the nuances of demonology.
Exactly. They're like, you're sounding a bit logical, and you're looking a bit caked up. Is your womb in your ass? Like,
yeah.
But
sounds like you might be a witch.
Yeah. Ooh, was that math?
Yeah.
Ooh, yike. Big yike. So anyway, mass hysteria. So I'm just going to say mass hysteria because that's kind of the common usage and we all kind of know what we're talking about there. Can broadly be defined as the spread of illness symptoms through a population where no germ and or infectious agent can be pointed to as responsible for the illness. And I say illness here in the broadest terms because, as we know, mass hysteria symptoms can like lead everything from people coming down with symptoms of meningitis, like in that house episode I referenced during the Dancing Plague episode, to extreme anxiety, to motor tics, like, and all the way up to like dancing and speaking in tongues and things, which is that aspect of it is actually termed mass motor hysteria. So the reason I'm talking about this is that the spookiness factor of mass hysteria for me comes from the idea more that you could easily succumb to the hysteria without realizing or intending to. So suddenly, what if you became sick or began acting strangely and you felt compelled to do so? And so it's kind of a loss of individual autonomy in the moment, and then to me a bit of an existential dread about what it is to be an individual and who is also a member of a group who is trying to, who's being defined by their relation to others, and therefore their body's doing things and their mind is doing things to kind of make them fit in and respond in the way that everyone around them is responding. So to me it was very much like, I know we talk about the Magnus Archives all the time, but they fucking deserve to be talked about all the time. But like the web in the Magnus Archives.
Yeah, no, that's fair. More than fair. And you are correct. They do deserve to be talked about at length.
Oh, they're fucking incredible. But so basically the spooky factor to me isn't so much that there isn't a scientific explanation, because there is a pretty sound scientific explanation around it. It's the fact that the explanation doesn't change the fact that it happened and spread, and people had the lived experience of being a victim of mass hysteria.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, that is the terrifying thing about it, is that it doesn't matter if you know what caused it. It still happened. Like, people still experience it.
And even if someone, and like, this is a bit of a sneak peek, but at the end of this, I found a guide for how to deal with mass hysteria.
Oh, damn.
I know, so I'm going to give y'all instructions.
You've got the secrets.
This is harkening back to my Witches of Belvoir, how to piss in a jar and make everything be better.
Yeah, and as we famously know, that episode gave me COVID, so please,
it did.
let's not.
You're gonna message me later, and you're like, I can't stop tangoing. Like, what have you done?
I just need to dance. It calls me.
I just get this video from your wife of you like twerking in the living room.
I am gonna just send you a message later, being like, I'm bringing disco back.
There is much panic at this disco.
It's all disco now.
It's all disco now. Fuck. Oh, by the way, I was reading back through some of our message. We are fucking unhinged.
We are.
Like,
And
Jesus Christ.
yeah, we do have an agreement in place that when one of us dies, the other has a responsibility to delete all conversations.
And we've
us.
pulled in our spouses as well, so they're also like if for some reason we die in the same incident, they're required to delete.
If
the
we go out in
chats.
some sort of like conspiracy theory, Men in Black style takeout, where they do us in. There's instructions there.
It's like, refer to guidebook section 4, subsection B.
There's a metal briefcase under my bed. Take it and just throw it in a river. Don't look in it.
Don't look at it. Ignore the Jumanji drums you hear emanating from it.
If Robin Williams asks you what year it is, panic and run.
Panic and run. God. I mean, if Robin Williams is asking you anything at all. Exactly. So now that we roughly know what mass hysteria is, let's get into some cases. So actually, historically speaking, we can trace it, like, cases back, the earliest I found was around the 14th century. So,
nice.
Like, pretty far back. So let's start with have you heard of the writing trimmer epidemic of 1892?
I have not, but, that for me is, peak Suz. And I don't know why.
What? Okay. Why?
You're just, mad academic, so you would find a writing tremor.
Fair enough. So, in 1892, schoolgirls in Grossetens, Germany, again, apologies for pronunciation, began to shake uncontrollably anytime they attempted to write anything. So, anytime they tried to put pen to paper, they began to seize and jerk, some quite slightly, others almost like grand mal seizure kind of movements. With some students even experiencing amnesia about these episodes and altered consciousness. Okay, think about this. Think of like a room full of schoolgirls roughly 8 to 12, and then think about them all trying to write, and then suddenly eyes rolling back, dissociating. Absolutely, it's like a Japanese horror film.
It sounds like my time teaching English, to be perfectly honest.
Oh god, I forgot. But it's a profoundly unsettling picture if you're just kind of viewing it.
Yeah, I was kind of initially going, they're 12-year-olds, they're just fucking about, they don't want to write. But then the eyes rolling back in the head thing is definitely not.
Well, you're not wrong, but it's okay. You're not wrong. So in fact, some of the girls, like I said, they claimed amnesia and altered consciousness or dissociation, which I'm kind of like, you know what? Sometimes we do need to separate our minds from our bodies. Treat yourself to some dissociation every now and again. But seriously. So you've imagined a group of school-age girls who just can't write, which, if you think about it, writing being an essential form of human communication and self-expression. So these women, or these young girls, feeling like they can't, they're not speaking during these episodes and they can't write, and so they're almost shut off from all expression and things. Now, here's the explanation attached to the event. So the explanation attached to the event was that there had been a new teaching method popularized in Europe during this period, and it involved essentially rote repetition of tedious tasks, because it was based on the theory that the brain is a muscle and must be exercised regularly and thoroughly. So It's postulated that this episode, or this occurrence, was placed a repeated stress on the students and took a physical toll, especially with activities requiring fine motor skills like writing. So in other words, the girls really did subconsciously want to get out of writing class so badly, they literally became ill and others around them became ill when they attempted to write.
That's phenomenal. That's, they're really embracing the grind and the hustle there.
I think this is the next stage of, why didn't we do this in high school when we took, the SATs? Or, for you, your leaving cert or something. You don't want to do it badly enough. You all psychically connect to each other and just fall off.
Oh, trust me,
fall off the chair.
When I did my leaving cert, I for sure disassociated quite a bit there.
It's some things I flat out don't remember my Viva, at all. I couldn't tell you a single question they asked me.
Yeah, I very much so had this where I would finish an exam and all knowledge from that exam that I had gained prior to going into it was gone from my head as soon as I put that pen
Exactly.
down.
I just love the idea that there was a new teaching and it was placing physical stress on them, but also emotional stress, because it was so goddamn boring that they literally became victims of mass hysteria to get out of writing class.
You know what? I gotta respect it. they tried something new. They were kind of like pioneering some new tactics for getting out of school.
Exactly. So that's the writing trimmer. So again, it's a small one, but I just thought it was really kind of interesting. And again, it kind of connected because we'll get into this as well. Like a lot of mass hysteria cases revolve around women or populations that don't have a lot of autonomy or are kind of oppressed or limited in their societal roles. So if you think of obviously the Salem witch trials, that kind of, again, not so catastrophic results, but kind of in the spirit.
Yeah, oh no, 100%, yeah, like super similar. Like, obviously not, as you said, like the exact same kind of circumstances, but definitely very similar.
So, okay, I'm going to pivot a little bit. So for the next case, so this is fairly well known if you're into cases of mass hysteria, so you might have heard of this. It's called the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
I have not heard of this, but I am so sad that I haven't heard of this because that is a fucking phenomenal name.
It is a metal name. Yeah. So I had never heard of this either, which surprised me. So I could honestly do a full episode on this one, and I might later on, but here are the high points. So it was 1944 in Mattoon, Illinois. So during the height of the World War II paranoia, there was a small town called Mattoon where numerous women and some men, but more women, reported that a mysterious man, like a mysterious figure who they had kind of categorized as a man, was spraying a sweet, sickly smelling gas into their bedrooms.
Oh, I have heard of this.
And that this gas allegedly caused paralysis of the lower body.
Yeah, I vaguely remember hearing about this before. I think it might have actually been like a History Channel thing that I saw like late at night or something. That's
the only time you can really reasonably watch the History Channel. But like, so after the first case, the whole town started to report sightings and that the effects of the gas had also affected them. And
amazing.
Yeah, so loads of people were saying like, oh, I was in bed and suddenly I smelled something sweet and then I couldn't move. But so no assailant was ever found. Now, lots of scholars attribute this to general war paranoia, fueled by the absence of a large proportion of the town's men who were off fighting in the war.
So what they're trying to say is that they psychologically felt like they were more a threat because
because there'd be many more like women whose partners and
they feel more at risk.
Like exactly. They feel more at risk, is particularly from like an unknown male assailant.
Sure, okay.
Which like fair enough, like that makes sense. However, the reason I also think it's interesting is that because to me it sounds a bit like what you talked about in our sleep paralysis episode.
It does actually. Yeah, weirdly enough, it actually does.
Like a shared hypnopompic hallucination.
Yeah, actually, it really does. Especially nighttime where they're lying in bed or something like that. Like they're kind of already that like veil between like sleep and
exactly,
awake.
And they can't. And the whole idea of like they can't move, but they are aware. So I think it really interestingly to me kind of meshes this idea of like social stresses around the war, and then also potentially a biological issue of like your neurons not like firing appropriately or at the right time.
The Hat Man taking like his initial approach where like now he just stands there and isn't like too bad, but before he was like, I wonder if I gassed.
Also, if you think about it, I can imagine that being a woman at that period would have been really terrifying as well because you think of World War II kind of like, and the gas masks that people like had around their house and things like, so the idea of someone having a gas is doubly scary.
Oh, for sure. And also, like, there was a lot of the posters at the time that were there, like I suppose like propaganda posters, if you want to call them that were around at the time, where a lot of them were showing Germans in gas masks and things like that. So they would be quite familiar with, like, associating a gas mask with fear. And then also, there was a lot of what they called internment camps, in obviously, as you know, in the States as well. So there was a lot of kind of mistrust of your neighbors as well at the time, like reporting your neighbors for, unfortunately, like being Japanese or something like that. Or
well, and especially in a town, I can imagine like a small town like Mattoon, and especially in a state, Illinois, which is in like, the bit that God forgot. In
for
the
sure.
Well, I think God forgot a lot of it. Anyway, but like the middle bit of America where there's lots and lots of like, there's kind of like the Midwestern Gothic of just, like endless cornfields and then these just small villages where everybody like weirdly knows way too much about everybody else.
Yeah, totally. And
all that. So
they're also going to be hearing reports in the news of there was a lot of reports of like Japanese attacks in the States, like sending over like those the like fire bombs and stuff like that. So they definitely would have had this like
Yeah.
heightened sense of fear and paranoia at the time. So totally believable that they would have something like this.
So yeah,
happening.
I kind of put it next to the writing trimmer incident because it shows like different types of social stresses that
Yeah.
can kind of induce this reaction. But and again, there's some other really interesting things about the Maggasser Mattoon that we can get into at a different episode. But I want to pivot now. I want to take this now and pivot back to school age girls.
Cool.
So let's head into the 20th century again. Have you ever heard of the Tanganyika laughing epidemic of 1962?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, so this, and again, I really do apologize for any mispronunciations. I'm trying my best. So in Kashasha, which is on the western coast of Lake Victoria in Africa, 95 of 159 pupils at a mission-run boarding school began to uncontrollably laugh and cry sob, with the average case lasting around 7 days, but some girls experiencing up to 16 days straight.
Oh, fuck that. No. I just imagine just
Yeah.
the pain that you would be in after
Oh
that.
yeah, so it's almost like the dancing plague. If you can imagine girls just collapsing from exhaustion and their voices being just wrecked, and yeah, so it actually affected so many students and was so severely disruptive that the school had to close for more than a month.
Holy shit.
So the laughing epidemic spread to Inshamba, which is roughly 50 miles away from where several of the schoolgirls lived, and it spread to young villagers in that area for the next 34 days. So in fact, the school in Kashasha was apparently sued for sending the girls home because it then spread the illness to other youths in the village.
Whoa. So they viewed it as
So
they sent a pathogen home, basically.
Exactly. They sent something infectious home. And so in total, 14 schools were shut and over 1,000 people were affected.
That's insane.
And so
Whoa.
these would be, I think I saw the age range of girls being roughly 12 to 18.
And was it mostly girls that were affected by this? Or?
Well, so in the initial bit, it was at the Mission Run boarding school, to my knowledge, was an all-girls institution. So it would have been all girls in the first instance. Now, when they got back to the village, I think it like spread out to just other kind of young people in the village. So I think there could have been some men
just
or some boys in
impressionable
there.
kind of young people, basically.
Exactly. So we're back to talking about like on like one dimension of this is clearly that they didn't have a lot of agency in society. There was a lot of stress at school, but also that scholars have looked back on this are saying it was also the political climate of the time and the stress it was causing on young people.
I was just thinking,
because
it would have been mad stressful around
absolutely,
that time.
because the country had recently, so I think Tanzania, I believe, is the country we're talking about. They've recently gained independence, and so there was a lot of political upheaval as they transitioned into this new period, like out of colonialism, and so there would have been a lot of larger social stress, but also just, I mean, like the whole kind of raison d'etre of Buffy in that like high school is hell as well. So
Yeah, totally.
you've got so like being a teenager is the worst, and then you're in this politically stressful, like the whole society around you is shifting and changing. So I mean, it is that kind of I don't know, it's kind of interesting to think that like you are so overwhelmed. It's like laughing at a funeral. Like you're so overwhelmed and you're so like distraught that you just do like the most socially unacceptable thing at that moment, which is just start laughing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, like, the idea that, like, eventually over 1,000 people were just to me, it's so much creepier an image than the dancing plague.
Oh,
it's just these people.
I'll take people dancing any day of the week over children
I
laughing.
know. It is such a horror film setup of just children, like, cackling for no reason.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be for me now, to be honest with you.
Like if you threw in like a Dutch camera angle and some violin screech, you are 100% in a horror film.
I've literally just described The Woman in Black, by the way. Like, I recently rewatched that. And
I think it's great, by the way.
yeah, it's decent. It's good. It's a good film. I remembered it differently to when I watched it again, and I was kind of like, oh, it's not as good.
To be fair, I really like it because I'm a big fan of the book.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I enjoyed seeing it translated onto screen, but...
No, it was good. It was good. But yeah, the laughing children in the background with the violins and everything, it does really add to the tension.
Sure. So that's the laughing epidemic of Tanganyika. Again, like super interesting, and like I said, like all of these have a really plausible scientific explanation, but it doesn't make them any less creepy or just because like it happened. Those people experienced this.
If anything, it's kind of in a weird way, I could see it being almost more terrifying in the sense of there is a scientific explanation for like the cause of it, but that doesn't help the fact that it happened. You know, like
Yes.
It's still, yeah, you might know why it's happened, but it doesn't change the fact that this has happened and it's still affecting people. Mm-hmm. It just kind of, I think, adds to like, in a weird way, I almost find that more terrifying than not knowing. Because at least with the not knowing, you kind of almost feel kind of, I don't know, justified in it happening. I suppose if you're like a victim of this, you're kind of like, well, no one knows why it happened, you know, and you're kind of united in that. But if a scientist is basically saying to you, like, no, this happened because of X, Y, and Z, like, you're kind of like, well, that doesn't change the fact that it happened. But now, like, I think it's just your brain being able to just experience this. For me, I just find that more terrifying for some reason, that your brain can just randomly be like, I'm sick.
Yeah, like, it's like the psychosomatic aspect of it, of like, oh, so my brain can just decide to give me, like in that house episode, like, visible symptoms of meningitis.
Yeah, exactly. Or, you know, people who are under just such like mad stress that they experience, you know, like a fugue state.
Yes.
Like that sort of stuff I just find terrifying. So yeah, with this, I'm like, I almost feel like knowing the cause of it, in a sense, makes it more terrifying, that it's just your brain is basically just like, nah. I'm done here, bro.
It makes me think, like, you mentioning fugue states reminds me of, I don't know if I've talked about this, but one of my absolute favorite Rick and Morty episodes is the one where they have, like, the Knight family.
Oh, yeah.
So it just reminded me of like the Knight family, you know, doing sit-ups in the middle of the night to like give you a six-pack. Anyway, so sorry, like fugue states and like the night. So my partner and I have a joke of like when I say something like completely out of pocket and random or something, he's like, "Did I just experience night Suz?" Like, because I'll just be like, I don't know where that came from.
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
Okay, so that's that one. All right, now I have two more. So one is really short, but I found it really interesting and kind of like really unsettling. So apparently in Portugal in 1917, something occurred called the sun miracle, in which several thousand people reported seeing the sun rotate in the sky while changing size and color.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I have heard of this.
Like, I am imagining experiencing that, how fundamentally terrifying that would be.
Oh, your mind is fucked if you experience this.
Oh my god. Like, it is 100% like Matthew McConaughey's character in the first season of True Detective having, like, an acid flashback.
Yeah. 100%. Like, there's not really any coming back from this, because even if someone gives you a rational explanation, you're like, no, I know it.
Yeah, and you're like, no, the sun turned purple, you fucking idiot. Yeah. Like, the sun is not supposed to be purple.
Yeah. I don't care if you're telling me that, you know, everyone else experienced it as well, and it was just our brains playing
Exactly.
up.
It was like, why did my brain make the sun purple? Yeah. I mean, my first thought was like, is this just a case of someone like Donald Trump not wearing eye protection while looking at a fucking eclipse?
It very well could be, you know.
Yeah.
It very well could be.
It's a bit of column A, bit of column B.
Yep.
Okay, Rob, I have saved the finale just for you. So, this case, which again, you may have heard of, you may not, it's called The Irish Fright of 1688.
I have not heard of this.
Amazing. You're gonna love this. So, it was an episode of mass hysteria and panic that took place in England during the Glorious Revolution. So, during the last days of King James II's regime, after he tried to sort of abscond to France, troops of the Jacobite Irish army were stationed in England to prop up James's authority. As such, rumors circulated that Irish soldiers were going to carry out a massacre and Viking-style pillage in the English population as revenge for overthrowing James, who was a Catholic ruler. Yep. So, loads of false reports of the Irish soldiers burning English villages to the ground and killing the inhabitants of them spread from London to 19 English counties. Yep. These counties quickly formed, this is over a matter of days, they quickly formed makeshift militias to guard against these apparent Irish monsters.
Fantastic.
And again, it only lasted a few days in December of that year. It had the half-life of a meme on Reddit in 2024. Like, after that, people just decided it wasn't happening, but there was like a week where people in England were horrendously terrified that they are about to be murdered by essentially just these like Celtic beasts rolling into town.
God, that's fucking brilliant. Like,
so historically, no individual has ever been identified as like the real source of the rumors. However, like it's been like they're like, oh well, maybe it was like an Orangist attempt to like further prop up, you know, James II's authority and things like that. But anyway, or undermine his authority. Anyway, I just thought that you would absolutely love that.
I adore this.
Again, it's a.
I just try to come to like imagining these Irish lads just being like, "Fuck it, we're here, let's do it."
But I'm also just thinking of the English population that was like they had no evidence for this actually happening, and they were like, "Oh no, oh Lord, they coming!" They coming to take us down.
The English have never needed evidence to blame anything on the Irish in the past, so this is no different.
So again, this is a bit of more of a mass panic, and less of like kind of a collective illness, but I just thought it was great, and I wanted to put it in there, and it was also the first time I had heard of it as well. So
that was brilliant.
So, yeah, that was.
I love how they just
Irish
really played up Irish stereotypes of just savages coming over from here to sort them out.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? Like, it only functions as a mass panic because it's saying that everybody in England believed the Irish were monsters.
Yeah. You know what? And maybe they wouldn't have stayed here as long as they did if they all thought that.
And maybe they would have fecked off. It's like that, I love in Derry Girls where the cousin is, like the guy, James, he's always like, why can't everyone just speak English? And she's like, well, we didn't fucking want to speak English until your lot came over here. And she always just like screams at him about being a colonialist monster.
It's so true. You know, and I respect that. And it was just, as you mentioned, the Orange Order, basically. Like, yeah, the reason, the ones behind this plot. I'm like, yeah, of course it was. It's always the Orange Order.
So yeah, the makeshift militias, people absolutely losing their mind. I just thought that was great. Now, I want to kind of come to the end of the mass hysteria conversation. So a lot of these reminded me of a lot of things that have happened more recently. So I'm thinking like, I mean, even, you can kind of even trace some of these characteristics to something like people believing in QAnon and like the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Like, it's just kind of a hair off of like mass hysteria, really.
Yeah. I suppose
and, like,
it's
groupthink.
It's very easy, with groupthink or this kind of like fear of either fear of the unknown or fear of the other kind of side. Like you mentioned, kind of like QAnon and like the Capitol attack and all that. Like there's a very clear us and them feeling to that.
Mm-hmm. And so I know what you're thinking, Rob. I do. So like what do you do if you think you or your community are exhibiting symptoms of mass psychogenic illness, aka mass hysteria?
Get the fuck out of Ireland.
I know you're thinking that. No, but don't worry, I got you, fam. We can handle this. Okay. So, I found a guide in the magazine of the Health Protection Agency. An agency I know nothing about, so hopefully they're not terrible.
Okay.
But I found this guide really interesting. So I don't claim to be supportive of anything. I did not dig deeper into that. So, how do you manage a case of mass hysteria? So you have to firstly remember that it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate against age, gender, health, education level. It doesn't matter. Everyone is a potential victim of mass hysteria, which is important to remember. So, step 1 is to rule out physical infectious illnesses and conditions. So make sure they don't actually have meningitis. is kind of like, make sure that nobody's been eating like maggoty rye bread that's giving them arrogant
fair
poisoning.
You know, that's you're doing your due process there. Like that's more than fair. You're investigating to make sure that there is no actual illness first.
Like with the dancing plague, I would say you have to rule out the fact that people haven't been infected by that fungus that controls the brain of ants. Like I think you just have to rule these things
for sure.
out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, The Last of Us. Yeah, exactly. All right. So step 2: doubly make sure that there isn't a toxicological incident, and you have to say that. So once you know that it isn't like a toxin that's causing this, you need to say that clearly and directly as possible to affected individuals. Do not tell them they are suffering from mass hysteria, as this is likely to be counterproductive.
Interesting. So you're actually saying to them, we have looked and there is no toxin, there is no illness.
You are fine. Exactly. But do not tell them that they are suffering from, mass hysteria. Okay. Because that will just confirm it causes more problems than it solves. So step 3, remove patients from the scene and separate them from the sick to prevent like the psychological spread. So like keep populations separate so they don't start mimicking each other's behavior. Step 4, do not go heavy on the medical attention, as this can worsen anxiety and stress and confirm suspicions of the individual that the situation is dangerous. Yeah. So only do as much
the bare minimum,
medical
basically.
scoping, the bare minimum. So it says to use a calm and authoritative approach. So this is the time to practice your management skills, and really use all those fun acronyms they tell you in management books about how to deal with people. Yep. So step 5 is encourage them to return to normal activity. So tell those little girls to get to writing. Is kind of step 5.
You've had your fun. Get back to it now.
And then step 6 is actually, when I read it, it actually comes off a bit dark, and I'll tell you why. But so it says control the media message. Ensure clear, accurate information is being disseminated. Which, okay, that makes sense. However, it sounded to me, the way it was written, kind of like V for Vendetta style, large scale media gaslighting. Like control the media message.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, having just lived through a pandemic, I totally appreciate the need to get clear media messaging out.
Exactly. So that's your guide. And now so this was my attempt to kind of dip my toes in the history of mass hysteria. I didn't even get into the meowing nuns or the Hammersmith ghost hysteria, because I think I'm going to do those at another time.
Please do. Please do.
I know. But as someone who has had chronic anxiety as long as I have been a sentient being, I totally buy that extreme anxiety and stress can trigger some really fucked up behavior. And I'm also from America. I've seen my fair share of stampedes for Black Friday in the 90s.
Yeah,
and more
sure.
recently over those fucking Stanley Cups.
Oh my god. Let's not get into that.
I know. But, however, I still find the fact that our kind of essential human ability and need to relate to one another can turn so dark and individually damaging that it can literally kill us. And that's kind of mass hysteria in a nutshell, Rob.
that's your conclusion. We're all gonna die.
And and that is your memento mori. Try not to, maybe listen to your mom when she says, if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you? You have to say yes, because it's mass hysteria.
Yeah, true. You basically just embracing being a lemon, I love this. I'm still I'm not gonna lie, just thinking about the Irish one.
The Irish Fright, I knew that. I saved that one for last for you.
Oh, I love it. It really just tickles my heart to just know that it was a genuine fear that we basically just said enough is enough and decided to invade.
Exactly. They were just going to tear across England, killing everything in sight.
And they absolutely would have as well if they wanted to.
Pure mad lads.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. No, thank you for this. I love this. This is great. And it's a real world terror. It is fucking terrifying because it's real. It's not like with ghost or UFO stories where there's a bit of an unknown and kind of a bit of well, no, it didn't happen. With this, it's very clear, no, it literally happened and can happen again. It
will happen again. And so I guess I want to leave the listeners with, why are you doing what you're doing right now? Sorry, is that too ominous?
No, it's not. It's not at all.
So that's that for this episode. Be sure and check us out on social media. We are very active on Instagram, and we also frequently read our emails. So please submit any kind of paranormal stories you'd like us to know or share. Also, please, if you have any experiences or thoughts about mass hysteria, we'd love to hear that too. And we're gonna take a 2-minute break and record another episode, but I guess we'll see you guys on a different week. So stay safe and try and stay cognizant of why you're doing what you're doing.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.